we are building up in Milwaukee. Although they begin pricing their product anywhere from 40 to 70% lower than where we are pricing ours. We don't need to be Einstein to figure out what's about to happen here. Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki also jump on that bandwagon. Everybody's shipping tons and tons of very, very inexpensively produced heavyweight bikes in the United States, and something happens. And what happens is, because the bikes tend to look exactly the same, because they share a tremendous amount of common componentry, a commodity mindset overtook the industry. Everybody behaved the same way, positioned their product the same way, positioned their dealership the same way. All of their go-to-market effort looked virtually identical to each other. The bike is $99.99 to 99 cents, whether it's a Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, or Suzuki. That's how they ran their businesses. And as a result of this, Harley-Davidson begins trying to follow that model because that's what the marketplace expected. Only problem for Harley-Davidson is Harley-Davidson cannot produce motorcycles as inexpensively as they could overseas. So you begin to see that there's about to be some tremendous margin pressure. What we didn't realize is that by behaving the way our competitors were, we were sending a very clear message to the marketplace that says, we're all the same, we behave the same way, we produce the same stuff, engage your brain. Be smart and buy the cheapest motorcycle you can, because you know what? It's going to be great. You're going to enjoy it. Boom, Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki go this way. Harley goes that way because our bikes are too expensive. So we're starting to look at this as we're marketing people. So how can we change the way we market these products so we can sell more? We were naive enough. We were naive enough to believe that we were in existence to produce and sell a product. And if we could sell more product, we would all live to see another day. Talk about your short-sighted view. We wanted to sell more product. So a small meeting room up in Milwaukee, where the few bodies that existed up there that were, that had marketing somehow in their title, we're sitting in a small meeting room, everybody's smoking. Everybody used to smoke at Harley in those days. God, it was glorious. It was. That was before everything became politically correct. Miller Brewery right next door. Guess where we went for lunch every day? People wonder where the market share went. Story for another time. But we did have fun. Anyway, so we're in this small meeting room. We need to change the way we go to market. How should we do this? Well, let's do a quick SWOT analysis. Let's look at what everybody in the industry does. Folks, this took 20 minutes. This is 20 minutes of research. Everybody scattered. We ran around the building and gathered up every single piece of go-to-market literature that we could find for everybody in the industry. And at that time, really, it was us plus Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki. So we got everybody's ads, brochures, sell sheets, posters. If it had been more modern times, obviously you'd have websites and God knows what else thrown into the mix. We dump everything on a table. Puff, puff. Everybody's looking at the stuff. Everybody's head comes up and goes, good God, everybody in the industry is saying the exact same thing. Buy from us, we stand for quality and reliability. Quality and reliability. It says Honda, it says BMW, it says Harley, it says everything. Quality and reliability. Could there be a more useless word in the demand creation vernacular of Americans than quality? Buy from us, we stand for quality. Well, you all use it. Oh, we got to talk about our client's quality, our product's quality. Well, we figured, the more we looked at this, well, if everybody is saying the same thing, can we assume that nobody's listening anymore? Well, of course we can. Can we also assume for 1 minute that everybody believes, if they're paying $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000 for something, that quality is there? Right? In order for quality to be a competitive advantage, it requires the people that we're competing against to not have it, or to have substandard quality. That stuff doesn't happen anymore. So buy from us, we stand for quality. We have to say this stuff or people will think that we don't have it. Right? The exact opposite argument would also then have to be real. Then you have to believe that there's somebody on the other side and say, well, puff, puff, we got crap, but come buy from us anyway. Would anybody do that? Of course not. You're wasting your same breath giving somebody your quality message. You haven't bought anything based on somebody's quality message since the late 1970s. But please, let's keep talking about quality, shall we? Because it resonates so strongly with the marketplace. Everybody's talking about two things, quality and reliability. To make matters worse, everybody in the industry, ourselves included, are supporting our useless quality, reliability messages with metrics, data, really amazing numbers. Here's how long our bike is. Here's how tall it is. Here's the seat height. Here's the handlebar height. In inches and centimeters. For the global market. Acceleration time, stopping time, miles per gallon, miles per hour. All really good stuff. Really great numbers. All 100% useless in the world of demand creation. We don't exist to market. We don't exist to sell. We exist to create demand for whatever it is we represent. Demand goes away, so do we. We all understand. Why would I say that numbers and data are useless? Well, the only way that numbers and data would work to create and generate any semblance of demand or create preference, the only way that would work would be if the human species was rational, logical, and brain-driven. Are we a rational, logical species? What do we think? Not just no, but hell no. The only decision a human being makes with his or her brain exclusively is life or death. You've never bought anything in your life using your brain. Why in God's name would you try to promote something that way? Why would anybody do that? It's the fallback. That's how it's done. We need to talk about quality and reliability because people expect to hear that. We are an emotional species. Every decision that we make, everything you ever bought, everything you've ever done, the decision was made here in your heart and your gut. It might route to the brain. It might go from heart to brain, but more often than not, it goes from heart to wallet. I like this. Liking something isn't rational or logical. I believe you. I trust you. I'm confident in what you're telling me. None of these things are rational or logical. So we start looking at this, and we're not smart people out there. Okay, I mean, most of you already believe that anyway. We're not smart enough to figure this out. But we're looking at it and saying, why in God's name would we try to compete in the brain? Where our competitors are beating the hell out of each other on price and sending a message to the marketplace that says we're all the same, buy the cheapest stuff you have. Let's let them beat each other to death, trying to create a rational, logical argument to do business with them. Instead, let's us focus on the heart, on the gut, where life is lived, where things actually happen, where the needle actually moves, and see what happens. Now, a quick story. It's in Zurich, Switzerland, of all places, doing a presentation to the financial community of Switzerland, the investment banking community of Switzerland. They look exactly the way you're picturing them right now. Perfect suits, little watches on a little chain, etc. So get done doing a presentation on what we're doing to build our global footprint, establish a stronghold for our brand in all these other countries outside the United States, show the financial performance, trying to get people to invest in us or to invest further in us. Get down to open it up to Q&A. Very Swiss-looking banker stands up and he says, I won't imitate his accent, I'll just make an even bigger idiot of myself. And he says, Kim, it was a brilliant presentation. He was right about that, totally kicked ass. But there's something I'm not getting here. I said, well, what's up? He goes, how can you expect to come into a country like Switzerland, where BMW has been the de facto brand for over 60 years? BMW is a company that caters to a sophisticated, well-educated, well-informed, intelligent person who is very much driven by technology and innovation. And the kind of writing that we do over here is very technical. And you're trying to come into our country selling something that looks older, is antiquated, and doesn't have the technology, doesn't have the innovation, doesn't have all the digitized stuff and the computerized stuff, etc. He goes, how can you possibly think that that's going to work here? And I said, sir, all due respect, he didn't listen to a word I just said. So we are not ever, in any country in the world, going to compete the same way BMW does or the way anybody does. We are never going to engage a potential customer intentionally in a discussion on the features and benefits of our product versus BMW or versus anybody. And he says, how? Because that's because you know that the BMW has way more feature and benefit driven stuff on that motorcycle, way more technology and way more innovation. I said, absolutely, positively false. So that's not what the argument is built on. So first of all, if we are trying to build demand for our product by selling you on the various features and benefits, what are we doing? We're doing that's what BMW does. Why would we want to perform the way they do, especially on their home turf? We never want to behave the way they do. We're going to talk about this stuff and say, what's the other problem that we run into if we begin talking about features and benefits with people who don't understand us yet? sooner or later, 100% of the time, we're going to begin discussing things that the customer has no idea what the hell we're talking about. Oh, but if I aqueous coating on that paper means nothing to a 17-year-old kid, right? You know that. The same thing applies in motorcycling. If I can talk about wheels, I can talk about compression, I can talk about combustion with somebody who knows what I'm talking about, but sooner or later the discussion is going to get into things like ABS braking system, or throttle-by-wire, things that a new customer doesn't understand. And what does a customer do, a potential customer do, when you begin telling them things that they don't understand? Where does their chin go? Down. Anytime you see a chin drop on somebody, that just lost them. We don't want to lose people. So what we're going to do here, better than BMW, better than any company in the world, is we're going to get more people in this country to like us than like BMW. If they didn't like us before, they're going to like us more than they did before. If they don't like it, or they don't have an opinion about anything, we're going to get them to like us more than BMW. He goes, that's it? I said, that's it. We're here to get people to like us. And he goes, Ken, it's got to be more complex than that. And I said, I could flowchart the shit out of this for the next 6 months if that would make you happy. Charts, data, graphs, all kinds of numbers. I said, but that's not how the world works. We're not here to be fancy and talk numbers and graphs. We're here to get people like us, engage them, get them into our dealership, and get them to use and buy our product. We want to be disciples on this and recruit their friends to also buy motorcycles. We're not going to behave the way that they do. At the end of the day, in a world where all things are equal, and everybody is selling the same thing, that somebody's willing to sell what you're selling for less money, who do we choose to do business with? It's people that we like, period. We're going to get people to like us. This is driving Mr. Swiss bank guy totally crazy. He's not grasping this at all. And I said, okay, let me give you an example here. I said, do you believe, sir, the rest of you in the room, that it's rational and logical behavior to part with the money necessary to buy that motorcycle right there? I said, this bike, Harley-Davidson Rookie, left the plant in York, Pennsylvania, carrying a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $18,304. The extra $4, FYI, cigarette. And then, totally counterintuitively, that price is about to ratchet upward quickly and dramatically. Because we know that the person that's buying this motorcycle, working with the people inside the Harley dealership where this bike is being sold, are going to make immediate changes to this physical piece of hardware so that it will fit their body size, their riding style, and their personality. So let's just say, for example, that this rider has shorter legs. We're going to need to lower the frame. Cha-ching. We're going to look at that exhaust system and say that's not loud enough. People that ride Harleys like them to be loud. I have no idea why, but every exhaust system that's sold helps me, pay college tuition for both my kids. So of course, I support that. Loud bikes are cool. Those handlebars are going to need to come back further, which means they're going to have to be longer. Means we need to swap out the handlebars. If we're swapping out the handlebars, that means we need longer cables. It means we need to swap out all the cables, all the handcuffs. So we're going to want that seat closer to the ground. We're going to replace that seat with one that has more of a dip to it. So by the time we're done on this, on average, parts, labor, accessories, everything out the door. Remember, I talked about how important parts and accessories are. You're looking at $24,000. $24,000 for a motorcycle, rational and logical thing to do. Could you bring one of these home and say, guess what, dear? I just dropped 24 grand on a motorcycle, and expect dear to respond with, well, it's about time you started using your head. Why am I telling you this? Well, because remember what I said before. As cool as I think this is, and as cool as a lot of other people think this is, and that somehow that price is justified, which of course it's not, we can never justify it. There's other stuff being made out there in the marketplace that looks, acts, and performs exactly the way this one does. Our friends at Honda challenged their engineering staff to create a motorcycle to compete against the Road King, the most desired motorcycle platform in the world. Over 120 countries around the world. If I just put up a silhouette of this motorcycle in front of motorcycle people, they'd say, Harley-Davidson, the shape of this bike goes all the way back to 1947. Essentially unchanged. So Honda comes up and challenges their engineering staff to come up with something to compete against it. So they come up with something that, to the untrained eye, spelled members of the design and marketing community, look a hell of a lot alike, don't they? But let's do some quick math. That's 24,000. That's 8,000. 24, 8. One of these. 3 of these.